we just gonna start having a conversation? I feel like I've already ruined this whole podcast. Welcome to the Forging Podcast, where our mission is to forge guys into godly husbands, fathers, men, and leaders in their communities. We push out of our comfort zone, face our fears, and grow stronger every day. We strive to be selfless providers, dangerous protectors, loving husbands, fathers, and friends. I hope you all enjoy the podcast. Okay, so actually, are we recording? Oh.
We are now.
Yeah. So, Chris.
Hey, guy.
Last time you were on with us, you was fixing to go to Montana.
Bruh.
And wrestle bears.
Yes. I didn't.
And I want to know I want to know how this trip went.
I'll tell you my bear story.
Okay, tell me.
So we're rolling through Yellowstone. And there's moose out, there's buffalo everywhere, buffalo, bison, wherever they're, everywhere.
What is the difference in a buffalo and a bison?
One's bigger than the other. I think the buffalo's bigger.
Okay.
So anyway, we're seeing all these different animals, and I'm looking for bear. I'm like, yeah, we're going to see a bear. Y'all just buckle up. We're going to see one. We come up, and it looks like Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson are putting on a concert. There's people stopped everywhere. You can't even fit the truck through. It's just like they're everywhere. And so I roll the window down, and there's this guy, and you can tell he's not from the South. And I said, hey, what y'all looking at? And he said, oh, there's a mother bear down here and two cubs.
Is that how he sounded? It kind of sounded Canadian-ish.
Well, he probably was. That's what it sounded like. So I was like, yeah, and we eased up and looked down there, and you could see just little specks moving around, And I was like, all right, we seen bear. And so we go down a little further, and there's a lady walking down the road, and she's looking feverishly for a bear. You can tell she's on the hunt, her and her husband. And so as I got by, I waited till I was about 20 yards past, and I was like, oh, ooh, grizzly. And I pointed out the window, and her and her husband were running, chasing the truck, trying to see these grizzly bears that I pointed out that weren't there. That was so mean.
That's awesome.
That was so mean, but it was funny to me.
Well, yeah, you got to have a little entertainment.
Yeah. But, y'all, when I say that place out there in Montana, Wyoming, beautiful. So beautiful.
I've asked Courtney before, why don't we just move out there?
You don't want to move out there.
Really?
No.
Why is that?
Well, it snowed while we were there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett loves the cold.
But then, in the wintertime, they're like, yeah, we got 12 foot of this, that, and the other. That's what the locals were saying. I was like, nah, I'll come back when it's warm.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least experience it, give it a chance.
Like living there or just visiting?
Well, I would visit before I lived there, but I got a sneaky suspicion that I would really like to live there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no words to describe
Really?
how beautiful it is. We were taking pictures down by the river. I can't remember what the name it was, but it was there in Ennis, Madison River maybe, and these two deer start trotting off, and I'm like, oh, there's deer. Well, they swooped up two moose, and here comes the mooses running across the
Mooses or meese?
Mooses come running across the river towards us. Well, my daughter she's probably 100 yards from the truck, and them moose will beat you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're mean.
Yeah,
They're massive.
And I was like,
too.
hey, Liv, there comes some moose, and I'd already given them the heads up on how dangerous things were. And she is in a dead run, boy. She's giving it all she's got coming to the truck. And they turned and went the other way, and I never told her. She is still just, she's getting it. And they went up crossing the river towards us, and then went back onto a little island, and Man, it was just everything that we seen was just breathtaking.
When is the hunting season out there?
I don't
Don't know.
I don't know.
The
They
way
had-
you
they had
described the winter, it looks like it would be so hard.
yeah. Oh yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
there was
probably.
herds
I could
herds
look
of
it up.
pronghorn in the yard.
Hmm.
In the yard of the cabin.
Really?
Just playing. They wasn't afraid. You'd walk out there on the
Yeah.
porch and they'd chase one another around.
They ain't been shot at much.
Nah.
Yeah. Which you were at Yellowstone, right?
We stayed in Ennis, Montana. Which is,
I don't know where that is. Is
it's-
that in the park?
we were
How do
30
you spell
minutes from
Ennis?
Yellowstone.
N or N?
Ennis. We were probably 30 minutes from Yellowstone.
Okay.
From the west entrance, I think it was.
Well, pheasant season runs mid-October to January 1st. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't ask about pheasants, but that's cool. Hunting season in Ennis, Montana. You want to go hunting out there, Brett?
No, I'd love to.
That would be amazing. Let's see. I don't know. I guess it would take forever to find it.
Well,
So, October to January.
yeah, something like that.
The when it's freezing cold.
They had really nice little restaurants and mom and pop stuff.
Yeah.
Ennis is like, if I could describe it, I would say it is Mayberry in Yellowstone.
Nice.
Because it's just a little small town. We walked into the restaurant to eat breakfast, and obviously we're not from there. And the owner came around, and the cook came out, and they stood there talking just about Alabama and, different things they knew about Alabama, and we taught them a few things, how to say y'all and then get over here kind of thing. And the best breakfast. Man,
Yeah?
that fella could cook.
Yeah, I think we need to do a foraging podcast trip to
Yes.
Montana.
Yes.
Just the men.
Hey, we're actually talking about doing a men's retreat there next year.
Are you? Well, you're going to have to let us know, and I might have to be part of it. How long do you have to go to your church to be qualified to go?
I don't know.
I reckon you don't have to.
Yeah. Just call them and say, I want to go, I guess.
I want to go. I know a guy.
Yeah.
You know that guy, Chris?
Yeah.
He's my in. I need to be there. That would be awesome.
Man.
I'd love to talk him into going kayaking. Chris don't want nothing to do with kayaking.
Why?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Oh, they make them big.
I know, but I don't know how big. And I don't know what they're weighted for, but I know what I'm going to give it. And I don't like all that teeter-totter and trying to balance and trying
Oh, it
to
ain't
keep
that
all
bad.
this
It's not that bad.
afloat.
I'll let you use mine.
You be all right.
Mine's made for big boys.
And if we go,
and it ain't
if we go like it was last time, you get to walk a whole bunch.
yeah,
anyway.
you get to do a lot of walking and slipping and sliding, ankle breaking, no big deal.
Well, that's not the only reason I want to go.
Wow,
I've heard of people kayaking and water moccasins falling in their kayak with them.
man, I ain't-
That's rumors. That's
You're
old
lying.
wives'
You're trying to
tales.
get
That
me out
don't
there.
happen.
You're trying to get me out there.
No.
I mean, I never had it happen. I've only seen one water moccasin kayak in any of these rivers here, or creeks,
We
as
seen
you guys
one.
call them.
I think you were behind us.
Oh,
We seen one.
yeah,
But
wow.
Well,
I mean,
there's a first time for
that's why you
everything,
carry a
never do when
gun.
I'm out there.
Shoot them. Then you got something to eat. Snake's good, man.
Okay.
It is.
All right, then.
We had a 6-foot
Talking
red
about
rat
Bundy.
snake at my house, or my mom's house in Florida. My stepdad grabbed it out. It was up underneath the vehicle. Got it out, killed it, skinned it, and he wrapped it up in foil with some garlic and some butter. Put it on a grill. That was good eating.
He just cut its head off.
Yeah, he cut its head off,
Get
and
the
then
poison away from everything.
well, there ain't no poison in a rat snake.
Oh, it was a rat snake?
I said rat snake.
I wouldn't listen to what you
I didn't say
said.
rattlesnake. I ain't eating a rattlesnake. I would.
People do. That,
Yeah,
that
that's
rattlesnake
good.
Roundup thing.
It's good eating. Snake is good.
Got little bones in it.
Well,
Yeah,
you just pick
bones
the meat
are
out of the
aggravating.
bones. See, and that's funny because I was talking about how I hate fish with, getting fish bones in my mouth, but snake bones don't just fall off easy in your mouth. You just kind of pick the meat off and eat it.
Okay. I'll watch you eat it, and
I'll cook you up one.
cook me up.
Next snake that comes to eat my chickens, hopefully it's a king snake, and I'll eat that thing just to ruffle feathers.
I want a big old fat water moccasin.
Big old water moccasin?
Yeah, that's like.
Well, I got to find one of them. I've only seen one down in a hole. When we did the kayak trip, I don't know, it was probably a year ago or two, whatever it was, on the upper part of the Bear Creek where you get to that waterfall. At some point, we're passing some rocks and we're hanging out, and this one big rock has like deep holes in it, and there was a moccasin down in the bottom of it, and I thought, well, that's a good place for it. They can't get out here and
That's
eat
the
us.
wash. We call that the wash.
Is it? Okay, so that's
Right before you get to the waterfall.
probably.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since we did it, but yeah, probably. That's the most water moccasin I've seen. And I've seen a little baby rattlesnake. Actually, no, I've seen a couple rattlesnakes here. When I was bush hogging and
The
moving.
white snakes.
No,
Yeah, I don't care for snakes either. If it's not poisonous, I ain't gonna kill it unless it's in my chicken coop. Then it's dead, and I don't care what kind of snake it is. It is dead.
I get it.
I don't do snakes,
DED, dead.
spiders either.
Yeah,
Same thing.
spiders. Any spider needs to be dead, but it ain't
Dude.
the worst.
I was driving down the road the other day, headed to a meeting, and I looked down. It's like this spider was so big that I saw it out of my peripheral. I'm
Had its own
driving,
area
looking at the
code.
road, and I see crawling up my knee. It looked like Cousin It. I mean, it was a hand crawling
What is it, a
up.
tarantula?
Almost. It had them little fangs on the front. You know, you'll see them just kind of.
The little fangs or whatever.
Yes, sir. And I looked down, and when I looked at it, it went with its little fangs, moving its little fangs at it. I about beat myself to death trying to kill it, and every time I would hit at it, it was dodging.
A ninja spider.
It was a ninja spider.
Man.
Made it all the way up my chest to right here on my chest, and I finally slapped that thing off. And now I'm driving down the road, and I'm like, I don't even know where this spider's at now.
It's working its way back to you.
It's coming back. It's mad now. I done hit it.
Now it's actually going to bite you.
Oh, and it comes crawling across by the little gear shift knob there. And so I took a towel and slammed down on it hard
Yeah.
and held it all the way to where I was going. Like I wasn't letting it loose. Like I had it pinned down. So I get to where I'm going, and I back my big old tail out of that car, and I'm holding it, the spider down, and when I ease that towel up, that thing come running at me. Y'all,
I feel like this ain't a real story because
every
That's what I'm
part of
thinking.
it.
I'm thinking
Every
about
part of it.
throwing
only
the
part I
flag
left
out there.
The only part I left out was my vehicle said, take a coffee break. 'Cause I had swerved and about wrecked so many times, it'll come up on the,
Oh,
on the
really?
dash, yeah, and say, take a coffee break.
and you left out the part where you scream like a girl.
I thought I put that out there pretty good. It scared me to death. It was huge.
Oh man. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Well, how do you explain that to the boss? Well, a spider came out, boss, and wrecked your car.
You wrecked 10 people off the road. I had a spider. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
I can see that. Blake, you can't see Blake or hear him because he's a little down and out today and ready to spew his guts and go to sleep.
If you're gonna spew, don't spew this one.
If you spew, I spew.
It's gonna be a spew fest. But we got Chris back with us. Brett's here and Blake's hiding over there being quiet. Except for when he's talking about wrecking his cart because of a spider. So I don't know that I'd wreck a vehicle over a spider. You know what I hate? When I'm up on a ladder, painting on a house or fixing facial, whatever it may be, and then wasps, WASPs, without the T.
You're in Alabama.
When how you say wasp? Is it-
Lost.
You say wasp too?
Told you.
Lost.
We're in Alabama.
But I've asked other Alabama people that are from like Hamilton, and they don't say wasp.
Yeah, they ain't real.
They
You
ain't real
know,
people.
this is getting deep. Sorry, all of our Hamilton listeners.
Well, you know.
Wasp. Okay.
a
So
wasp.
when wasps are trying to sting me, because I don't know what it is about me, but I could be walking 20 feet away from a wasp, and they'll just fly, and they're like, look at this guy. We're just going to travel on over and sting him, and then we'll head back to what we were doing.
Yeah, my brother's like that.
I don't get it.
They look for him.
I absolutely just don't get it. I remember I was walking by this house one time in Florida, and I mean, the wall was, I don't know, it had to be 20 foot away from me. I'm just walking, doing something, and I notice a wasp on the wall, but I'm far enough away, I feel as if I'm in a safe zone. And that dude comes out, tags me in the arm, and just goes right back. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
They're mean.
They're nasty. And these ones up here, so we get the wasps that we have up here, them red ones.
Yeah.
We get those down there too. I actually got stung in the eyelid by one down there, but it was same wasp. I'm driving down the road trying to go home, and I'm like drooling. I was tore up. But them things hurt. Them things hurt bad.
And guinea wasps hurt worse than that.
The guinea ones?
hornet.
The guinea wasp. I've never been stung by a hornet.
Oh my goodness, they'll make you poop.
Really?
Wow.
They knock you to the ground and make you poop.
Really? Them ones, the ground wasps or whatever?
No,
No,
them big
them's yellow
hornets, they're-
jackets.
They're about that long.
Huh.
I had 4 of them in my same patrol car one night. I'd parked my hornet's nest and left the door standing open, and they
So did you end up getting a new patrol vehicle? Because this sounds cursed.
no, still the same one.
Same one.
Still the same one.
Well, when you go back out there, just put a bug bomb off every time
I
you get
have
in.
to do something, man. And that was another night I never beat myself to death. Sound like helicopters buzzing around in the daggum car.
Yeah, that's insane. Welcome to the Fortune Podcast, where we're talking about getting stung and attacked by spiders and bees. And Chris's awesome Montana trip that, I threatened to jump in your truck bed and be a stowaway and ride out there with you, but it sounds like I would have froze to death with the snow. So I'm glad I didn't, because that'd have been bad.
It really wasn't that cold.
It was snowing.
No humidity.
It's a different cold, man.
Yeah.
It's a different cold.
It was snowing. It's cold enough. And I mean, growing up, so I have family that lives in Michigan. I have friends and family that live in Indiana, and we'd go up there every Christmas. And I mean, as a kid, you didn't care. You're just glad to play in the snow, build snowmen, angels, whatever, throw snowballs,
Right.
whatever. Of course, then I remember one year. So we got friends that are Amish, and the son had a paper route, and so we'd go up there for Christmas time. So it's freezing cold, and I remember riding a bike with him because they're Amish, they don't have cars. We'd ride the bikes through the town and deliver newspapers. Freezing cold. Like, Florida bones ain't meant for that kind of cold. It just ain't. And, it's like summers here are hot and miserable, but it seems like it's a short period of time, really.
That seems like a real long time to me.
Well, it's because you love the cold. Coming from Florida, it's hot all the time with very little cold, at least from the part that I'm at. But, now I'm like, we got fall coming, which I'm excited about. I love fall. But this winter thing that's fixing to come, I don't know that I can get used to it. I've been trying. We go out and we'll play. Like last year we had the ice storm, and so we were like sledding down the driveway and having fun, but daggum, it's just nasty cold. I told Autumn, I says, I wouldn't mind being a snowbird and going back to Florida during the wintertime.
Sure.
But I would miss being home, so
Yeah.
we just suffer through it. But it's nice because you guys get all the seasons, it seems like, and it's just, I don't know, before you know it, it's over with and you're on to the next one. So it's not.
Spring and fall is usually really short. We had a good spring this year.
Yeah.
Fall is usually like a week. It goes from 80 to 40 usually.
Yeah.
But lately it's been like 60 degrees in December. It's killing me.
I love it.
I hate it.
When was it we
Fine.
got that ice storm? Was that in January?
Which
This
one?
last one we just had.
It's dang global warming, I reckon.
Yeah, dadgummit. I wish we need to burn more coal so we can get some more warmer air. Oh man. So, you know what? I also got to bust Derek's chops. I told him Sunday I was going to bust his chops, and I'm fixing to do it. So, not that you're a last resort, Chris, because you're never a last resort, but we were going to have Derek back on to discuss praise and also prayer. And obviously, it doesn't take one. I mean, anybody can talk about it. Derek's just been studying heavy on that because they did a class on it. So I thought he was a good fit for that. So he came on. We were talking about worship. I feel like that was a couple really good podcasts, except for my kids making a bunch of noise in the background. And actually, after Magic Mastering, it kind of cleaned it up. Either way. So I'm like, after that podcast, he's like, hey, I think that discussing praise and prayer are a couple things that would be a really good topic to talk about. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's set it up. I'm like, hey, what about this week? He's like, okay, that sounds good. And then he's like, oh, I can't do it. We were going to record it Friday. Couldn't do it then. He's like, but I can do it Monday. I'm like, sweet. Okay, Monday. Day before it comes out.
Yeah.
And then last minute, he's like, oh, I can't do it.
He said, nah.
My work needs me. And I'm like, but this is the Forging Podcast, like Brett's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's right. Big deal.
I mean, where's his priorities at?
I can't even.
It's so disappointing. And
Poor Derek.
I don't even know if I want to have him back on. Maybe we'll just find somebody else. He's just unreliable. And then, now I'm going to bust on you. No, I'm kidding.
you
Derek,
would.
we love you. And I'm looking forward to that podcast because I think it's needed. But now, Chris,
Say something. I'm sitting right here.
you're sitting right here. Here's my confrontational phase. Brett asked me one time if I liked confrontation. And I said no, but I'm not afraid of it. But here I am confronting you, Chris.
Confront me.
So I'm excited. I'm like, you know what? Derek can't do it, but my bestest buddy in the world, he's always down for a podcast. Bestest buddy. Only because he's sitting next to me.
Write that down.
So I'm like, hey, Chris, I'm sitting here at the church
Yeah.
in the back row, texting my buddy.
Uh-oh.
That's how important you are to me.
Oh.
I'm texting you in service.
Oh, Lordy.
That's probably horrible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast? I said, what are you doing? 7:30 tomorrow? And he
What'd
says,
I
I don't know. I said, you said, I don't know. What am I doing?
Oh, so you tell
Right?
me.
You tell me.
Yeah.
And then I said, podcast. And then I'm like, sweet, he's down. You said, yep, I'll do it, blah, blah, blah. What are we talking about? Sweet. Last night he texted me.
Whoops.
Oops. I got called into work.
Yeah.
Just because you got bills to pay too doesn't mean you got to blow off the podcast. And I was like, I was hurt. I was crying, weeping in the corner, like
God.
struggling, crying on my wife's shoulder. Like it was rough. It was a rough period of time. My buddy's not going to come on.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I don't have a good guest to have a good conversation with. Me and Brett and Blake have a good conversation, but sometimes it's cool to have an extra, and a good storyteller, like his Montana trip fighting bears. But boom, no, I can't do it. My work's more important than you guys. So after I got done weeping and working through my emotions and my problems, I finally made it to bed, and I woke up this morning, fixing to take a shower, and I look at my phone, and my bestest buddy in the
It
world.
was like Mighty Mouse.
I tell you,
Here I come.
I was dancing in the shower.
No way.
I was dancing in the shower. I said, my buddy's coming on. He says, you know what? They don't need me after all. Or what I was telling myself is I value our friendship more than paying my bills.
Yeah.
So I'm coming on.
Sure.
So here you are.
Yep. You
And
take
I
it however you want
appreciate
to.
that. I appreciate that.
Take it however
so
you want to.
so
I'm
here we are.
Yep.
Here we are.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, I was kind of getting stressed out because we had a different topic. Then I had to go on another topic, and I feel like the Lord was probably pushing this topic first. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking, but it's something that I've recently been dealing with, and it's not the first time I've dealt with this. But running a business, stress is just one of those things that goes along with it. But I wanted to talk about managing stress, either being a business owner or just work-related stress, bringing that home and how we're managing that with our family. Because I suck at it. And we had the conversation kind of before going live that I suck at managing my stress. And I definitely let it get the best of me. And so I figured, hey, this would be a good topic to talk about. And I know with your line of work, you deal with a heavy bit of stress. And I don't know how it is for you, but I'm sure you have your times where you're just like, is this even worth doing? Maybe not.
In the past, yeah.
Yeah. So what better guys to have on talk about this than somebody in your position? Because have we talked about what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So that's a stressful job, especially dealing with what you got to deal with. And you rely on your chickens surviving to make a living.
Yeah.
And if your equipment's not operating properly, if the feed's messed up or waters ain't working, whatever, you're losing chickens, which is losing money, which is taking money out of your pocket. Mm-hmm. And that gets stressful. And I'm sure, and you've told before that you kind of go through phases where it seems like everything's breaking all the time, and then you'll go through short periods where everything's good, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's stressful. For me, it's, the fluctuation in work. Sometimes you're slam busy, and then you kind of get caught up, and you're like, okay, I need something. Of course, the Lord always provides. He always has taken care of us and always provided for us. But me, myself, likes to get in the way and say, well, what do I need to do? Instead of, all right, God, you got me. You always have. I need to trust you through this. Let me know what I need to do so that we can make this happen, make it work. Mm-hmm. And instead of doing that, it's crap, now I'm getting stressed out. Shoot, I got these bills to pay and all this to happen, and 6 kids looking to me for support and a wife, and how am I going to make this happen, And one way or another, it always works out. And so one verse, so in this, I went online. Typically what I'll do is I'll go on my search engine and just type in, was biblical way of dealing with whatever. And this time it was managing stress. And so one of the verses that popped out that was really good is Philippians 4:6-7. It says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And I'm like, if I just get out of my way and just be like, all right, God, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And it's not always whether I'm going to have work or not, but sometimes it's just an influx of bidding and estimating. And I don't have this magic formula that I can just say, well, oh, you want a bathroom remodel? Well, that's going to be X amount of dollars. Oh, you want this house painted? Well, click, 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 boom, that's it. Like, I've got to figure out materials. There's so many variables in all these things. What kind of fixtures you're going to use, what kind of tub you want, what kind of tile you want. Everything has a different price. So I can't just say, hey, you're looking at, I can give them a rough idea, but people want numbers. They want to know when I'm done, I didn't go 15,000 over because they chose the most expensive materials. So it takes time to figure these things out, all the different variables that I got to deal with, or even painting a house. We've been kind of getting into a little bit more paint and brick, which some people despise that even being done, and some people absolutely love it. For me, I think painted brick is beautiful. It just takes an old house and just makes it just amazing, in my opinion. But it requires a lot of material compared to a normal house because of what you're dealing with. So either way, it takes time. So I've had a lot of different jobs lately that require a lot of my time on top of us working. You know, we've been building fence around a pool where there ain't no shade, and it's been miserably hot. I think every day we worked, except for maybe 1 or 2, was just straight up sunshine. So it's like, and we get there early in the morning so that we can try to beat the heat. So it's like we're getting up early, we're working hard all day, coming home, and I'm dealing with estimates till however late at night it might be. I think the last one I did was 10 o'clock. And it's like all these things are starting to compound. Plus I've got the kids, and I've got my wife needing things, and all these things. And not that they're wrong, but it's just, I guess people don't understand like the pressure that men get. And we try to disregard it as, oh man, well, you're a man, you just suck it up and deal with it. That's a bunch of crap. It's not suck it up and deal with it. You do have to deal with it, but there's a way of managing it. It's people that just sit there and say, oh, well, that's no big deal. You know, you're a man, so you can, like, men have feelings. They have times of stress and get overwhelmed by that too.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be this over masculine dude that I can take on the world without any problems, because it's not realistic for anybody. But one thing that I've noticed is, though I'm appreciative of all the work that I get, I'm not complaining at all. It does consume tons of your time, tons of the time that you want to devote to your family, or you also don't have a guarantee of getting these jobs, though you have hours of meeting with the people, doing the estimate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you could have, I don't know, some of these bids I have 4 or 5 hours in when it comes to meeting with the people and all that. I mean, that's a lot of time that you're not getting paid for, not guaranteed for. And with all that, plus, I'm making sure that Blake's staying busy best I can, and worried about a whole nother family to take care of. There's a lot of pressure, and I'm allowing it to get the best of me lately. And I found too that I haven't been able to get in the Word as often because we're having to get up early, and it's like I can only get up so early.
Yeah.
I can only get up so early before I'm a zombie at this point. And so it's just something I've been struggling with, and I noticed that, and my wife's even brought out like, hey, you okay? Like, I understand your stress. My phone got swamped in the river when we went kayaking, and so I was without a phone. They were repairing it for like a week, and nothing on them. It's just, I don't know what happened to the stupid thing, but it just quit working. But running a business and not having a phone, your main phone number, like, I guess you don't realize how vital that is until it's gone. And I had a backup phone with a different number, and being that we switched over to Cricket, I can't switch SIM cards. It's all eSIM now, so I don't know how to deal with all that. Either way, I was allowing all that to compile and just get me into a spot where you start getting bitter towards all of it.
Right.
And so the wife brought up, hey, I understand your stress, but you need to calm down a little bit. And for me, I thought, well, I felt like I was managing it and not bringing it really. I mean, I was bringing it home, but not too bad. But it finally came to a head, and I had to do some apologizing and some figuring out. And so with that, I'm always kind of thinking about the podcast and things to talk about, because once again, for the podcast isn't just us sitting here knowing everything and teaching everybody else something that they should know. This is every bit as much of a learning experience for me. Like, so I'm growing and learning through our own podcast. And I guess I never took managing my stress and how I deal with the burdens of the world on, I never took that serious to really study about it and figure out ways I need to lean on God instead of my own ways of doing things, because the way I do things usually isn't right. But yeah, so that's kind of what brought this discussion about. And thinking about it, every man deals with stress. Every man deals with it differently. Every man's got all these burdens and pressures. I'm not the only dude, and I'm not trying to make it sound that way. But I got 2 guys here with me that also deal with these things, and I'm curious to know how you guys handle it and what advice we can give others that are dealing with it. because, good Lord, stress will tear a marriage apart quick if you ain't careful.
It will. Yep. Tear your
And-
whole life apart.
Yeah,
if you
it
don't,
will.
You know, and you want to go, Chris? You want me to go? All right. So years ago, when I first built my farm and stuff, the stress of running that would get to me. Of course, during the time, I wasn't walking with the Lord the way I needed to be. You know, maybe doing your ritualistic prayer before bed. You know, watch over us, forgive me. You know, and that'd be about it. Now, I lived in pretty good bit of stress. We didn't have any money. Money is not the answer to a lot, but me and my brother was
helps.
talking. Right, it does make things easier, but you know, it's not the answer for everything. And like you said a minute ago, the Lord's always got it. That verse you read is perfect for this conversation. It's absolutely perfect. I was going. And this is just off memory. I was thinking it was in one of the Peter letters. Cast all your care on the Lord because he cares for you. Not sure, can't quote exactly where that is, but you know, the way I handle stress now is completely different. First off, I have to get that quiet time.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what it costs. I might miss a day, but I'll usually spend at least 15, 20 minutes, have my prayer time, quick Bible read, you know. But if I miss that for 2 days, it starts to wear on me.
You know, and I've
No.
started noticing that too because
Have
we've
you?
been so
Yeah.
busy that I haven't necessarily taken the time in the morning. And sometimes when I miss the mornings, I'll try to get in the evening.
Yeah.
But like I said, with just the influx of estimating that I've been having to do, and we've been doing some things at the house too to prepare for other things. We've had our hands full as a whole. Even my wife's had her hands full. So it's not like
Yeah.
I was the only one in the household. You know, we all have our hands full right now with some things going on, and so I wasn't devoting the time that I needed to in the Word.
Yeah, and that's time well spent. You know,
Absolutely.
even if it costs you a little bit on the job, it's still time well spent. And you know, some of the biggest stressors we got are right here. And this goes back to we were having a conversation off the off air or whatever you want to call it. And you know, me and my wife have grown to a place. Courtney is just amazing for me. She could tell a while back that I was starting to get, you know, I'm starting to get wound up tight and I'm starting to get short with the kids. I'm starting, you know, she can just tell.
Yeah.
And she told me I had somewhere to go with the kids. I can't remember where it was. And she said, I think you need to leave your phone here. Because right now my stressors are not so much with my work, but it's with other stuff that I'm not sure I probably need to talk about on the podcast, but you know, it has to do with my phone. And she said, you probably need to leave your phone here. And you know, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes when your wife gives you advice, you might want to get a little defensive right off the
Sometimes.
bat. But she was right. She was absolutely right. Now, I ended up taking my phone that day, but I left it in my backpack, and I didn't mess with it. You know, I wanted to take it for her in case she needed me or whatever, but I didn't mess with it. And she was, and I got home that evening, and I said, you were right. You know, I needed to take that time and just, you know, I think I had maybe 2 or 3 of the older kids and just took that time with them, and it really helped. And you know, don't let these stresses turn the people that are close to you. Don't let it turn you against them and that kind of thing, because a lot of times that's who you need to lead on. And you know, like we were doing earlier. I'm not a very stressful person, but it can get to me, especially when it all comes at once. And it's hard to slow your mind down and think, reflect on that verse and just think the creator of the universe loves me.
Yep.
Loves my wife, loves my kids, loves, what are we afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
What are we stressing about?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we stress because we think that we've got to do it all
Yeah.
instead of relying on God.
And that pressure is there.
It
just
does,
like
yeah, absolutely.
just like you're talking about, that's a real thing. That is there. But this is really hard to do. It's easy for me to say just rely on God and it's going to be all right. But that's a lot harder to do than it is just to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it takes time and maturity and, seeing God work things out for you in your life will increase that confidence that it's going to be all right,
Yeah, and it always works itself out. Well, for me, it's always worked itself
Yeah,
out.
and even if it don't, even if you don't get what you want,
There's a reason.
there's a reason.
Yeah.
God's got it. You're going to be all right.
Absolutely. How about you, Chris?
Well, the scripture that you read points us to the relationship in prayer and supplication. Have that conversation with your Savior, with your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Joy comes in the morning. I know you're stressed right now, and I know that
Getting better.
it's easier said than done. But joy comes in the morning.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning or next morning?
It just
Maybe-
in the morning.
He didn't say which one.
It also says this too shall pass.
Yeah.
May pass like a kidney stone,
Ooh. Yeah.
but it's
But
gonna
it will
pass.
pass.
yeah.
It's gonna pass. So, if you're having those conversations with Jesus, and you're leaning on Him in stressful times, things are so much easier. Now, when it comes to stuff at home with my wife, there's always stress in marriage, stress in raising children.
Yeah.
There's stress in that.
Absolutely.
That's a three-way street. My wife and I have to be on the same page with the Lord. We have to be equally yoked and going through these things together instead of going through them by ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. Sometimes you feel like you're doing it all alone, even though you're not.
You're not.
It's like that weight weighs on you heavily.
Yeah.
And you're the only, just saying you feel like you're the only person that can fix this problem.
Sure.
And you just have to do whatever it takes. And
Sure. Now, work stress. I have to tell you how that works out later because I ain't figured that one out yet. I mean, there's a lot of stress in my job.
yeah.
Not just, there's stress from the public. There's stress, from the bosses and this, that, and the other. But my boss always says, just don't let any of this steal your joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good boss.
That is a great boss.
Don't let any of this steal your joy.
How does that work out?
I
Man.
I keep saying it, and I keep fighting for it. So,
Yeah.
it ain't always easy. But I try to do my job Let me sit up because it's finna get serious.
Uh-oh.
I try to do my job, and we all need to do our job as unto the Lord. So I'm not just going to go out and arrest somebody or go out and, run a call or whatever comes up. I'm going to do it as unto the Lord. So I have to try to make the whole situation come back to Jesus. I cannot tell you how many times, and I'm not tooting my horn at all. The Lord has the Lord has given me several opportunities to lead people back to Him use me. But almost every time I arrest somebody, there's prayer involved. And if I get to continue some type of relationship with that person, whether it's, as a coach or as, whatever, I'll try to coach them through sobriety or whatever they're dealing with. But it always comes back to prayer and their relationship with Jesus. I always tell them that you have to have a want to. You got to have Jesus, a want to, and clear path of anybody who adds stress to your problem. If you can get those three things.
Just get rid of my job, then I don't have as much stress. I just need to become independently wealthy, and then
There you go.
that leaves a whole nother stress level.
Yeah, but it's just like I tell them, and I have to tell myself the same thing. I got to keep Jesus first. Got to have the want to for things to be better. If you don't have that, what you got? You got to clear the path of everything that adds more stress.
Yeah. And not being in the Word is, and that's something that I kind of realized in hindsight is I didn't get as much time in the Word. And that was my choice. I could have, but it had just been wee hours of the night, and I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that kind of time, and I wasn't casting my cares on the Lord, that's for sure. I was dealing with it on my own, trying to deal with making it all work, get it all done, pleasing everybody. And that's another thing too, is like I'm so stressed out about making sure these customers are taken care of and happy that I'm neglecting it at home. Like my family comes first, and that's something else I've struggled with too is, growing up, work has always been priority for my dad. And that's been a struggle because I always wanted to try to put my family first, even though you can't always do that because sometimes you just have, bills have to get paid too. But I refused to sacrifice certain time on holidays or whatever from my family and go work. And it's kind of ruffled feathers here and there between me and my dad sometimes, but I understand, why he does what he does, and I appreciate what he does. But I get so concerned about making sure all my customers are taken care of because, especially down there, if you don't jump when somebody says jump, you might lose that job pretty quick. And, then they're going to tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends, and next thing you know, well, he's too busy to do anything, so you might as well not bother. Yeah. And they find Joe Schmo that just started a business, and he's got all the time in the world to go help all these people. And then if he does a good job, then they stick with him, and now you're out that. Fortunately, there's a lot of other customers to work for, but, it's like I'm still carry some of that mentality here. Here I hear there ain't nobody doing anything, It's hard to find somebody to show up. It's hard to find somebody to do their job. If they do show up, it's maybe not a very good job or whatever. So I feel like I guess I have a better chance here, but it's still that mentality of, man, if I don't hurry up and get these done, this customer wants this estimate done in no time. And I think that people assume that we have a magic formula to life and to estimating, for instance. And it's like they don't realize that amount of time that I'm working and sacrificing, and I just need to get to a point where it's like, you're going to get your bid when I have time to do it, and I'm not going to sacrifice my family's wants and needs because you think that your family is priority over mine. That's something I've had to try to learn, but I still allow it to get in the way sometimes, and build up, and then you kind of grow bitter about it, and then you're kind of like pissed off, and it's like they didn't do anything; they're just wanting their work done and in a estimate in a timely manner, and it's like it's just all that managing everything and trying to keep everybody happy. It never works. Somebody's always going to be miserable, and a lot of times it starts with me, and then my family gets the repercussions. So yeah, I mean,
You got to balance an act here too,
Yeah.
because you working and providing is taking care of your family.
yeah,
But also you can't swing too far one way to where you're only working and just using the cop out of, well, I'm trying to support my family, you know. Your family needs you,
yeah,
but you also have to work to support them. So you got this balance in that, and there's a lot in life where all this comes back to balance, you know. To give you the magic formula, I don't know, you know, but
magic formula. I wish there was
but-
just like, I wish I could just go online and be like, hit a couple buttons and all my estimates are done, and now I can get back to life.
yeah, and I can sit here and tell you, you say, you know, work time, you say you set your work time. It's 6, 7 to whenever, 3 or 4. And then that's
That'd
it.
be nice.
But
That'd be nice.
sad part is, and then this is for me too, that's not always reality.
Yeah.
You know, it may work out that way some, but, you know, I may have a fill system strip out the transmission at 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening. You know, I have no control over that, but I do have to go fix it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't think I can give you, say, this is how you fix this. But I can say it's about balance, you know. And, you know, you hit on something a minute ago that I wanted to touch on. You said that I'm the only one that can fix this problem.
I mean, that's typically how we treat it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot
I
of
know I'm
times,
not the only one.
a lot of times that's the case.
Yeah.
You know, like that scenario I gave you a minute ago with the transmission.
Sure.
Unless I call a repairman, I'm the only one there that can fix this problem. So I have to fix it. You know, and that's the case a lot of times.
Yeah.
And that's part of your duty as the leader of the household. But you get to a point where you will grow is if you're presented with a problem that you cannot fix. I experienced this with the first set of twins when they told us that both of them's probably going to die. One of them's for sure going to die, pretty much. And I knew that I couldn't do anything about it, but in my mind, I'm still trying to fix this. And this is going to sound weird, but I knew I couldn't do it. But in my mind, I still feel responsible to fix this problem. And once I finally got to the point to where just with my time, one-on-one time with Jesus, I admitted to myself fully, there's nothing I can do. I can't fix this. And I just have to give it to him.
We were talking about the formula.
Yeah.
There's one component to that formula. Man, come on now.
And this is the one that you gave me.
Oh, yeah.
I've been working it out.
Cool.
Except for one of the
There's-
times that I'm not, and I'm realizing I need to.
Yeah, that component is Jesus Christ and our relationship with him and our study of the Word. Your job stressing you out? Jesus. Family stressing you out? Jesus. Put him in wherever your stress is. Your job, do it for him. and it becomes just a little less stressful, till before you know it, you're old as me, and you're like, you know,
I'm going to Montana. Forget it.
got Jesus. No, yeah, got Jesus. You know,
Yeah.
and it's that. I can't say that it just completely. I have no stress, but I can say that it's so much easier
Yeah.
if you do it for Him. You know, you're raising children for Him. Everything's for Him. If you give it that, put it in that perspective, you know, it's much easier
Yeah.
to go through life.
Well, I need to realize too, like, when I know that I'm getting overwhelmed with this stuff, I need to make sure that I have extra time in the Word and prayer, especially in prayer, and just ask for His help and guidance with it. And I know, like, when it kind of came to a head, it wasn't like some knockdown, drag out situation, but I got a little heated with people, and it's like as soon as that happened, it's like a release. And then it's like you can step back and realize, man, okay, now I realize I really need to work on this.
Yeah.
And so then I did start praying and getting back into the Word, and that's really when I felt like the Lord was putting this on my heart to study and look into. I took the time to do it.
Right.
And I honestly don't feel as stressed as I was. I mean, I was stressed out, but now I'm like, okay, we got this. It'll be okay. Like, we're getting through it. We're just gonna take it a day at a time and do what we got to do. But it's like you're saying, it's because I brought my focus back to the Word and to just trust in God and stop leaning on myself for everything, because I can't do it all.
Yes.
But God can help me through all of it. And it's just stupid that we got to let ourselves get to that point before we do what we know we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, I knew and know that these are the ways to deal with it. But it's like, why is it that we can't just immediately turn to that? It's like for me, I have to learn the hard way. We were
Yeah.
talking earlier. I have to learn the hard way about so many things. And this isn't the first time I've had to learn the hard way when it comes to just trusting God and leaning on Him and praying and seeking Him. And so it's just frustrating, but, you know.
You know, Courtney's been under a lot of stress lately dealing with the co-op stuff. And she has been really holding on. We were talking about this yesterday. She's been really holding on to that verse, and I don't know where it is, but it's let the things of tomorrow worry about itself.
Yeah, I think I have
Worry
it.
about just think about today. You know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of power in that
Yes.
too. If you'll quit looking to whatever's out there in the future, just what do you got to do today? You know, get that done,
Right.
and then the next day.
Yeah.
The next day.
Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be
you had it
anxious
wrote
for
down.
itself. Yeah, because it was one of the verses that I took notes on. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. And yeah, that's what she's
Yeah.
leaning on, and it's true, and it's hard to see though, because we have to. For me, I want to see. I don't want to say in the future, like long term, but I want to know that things are going to be okay the next few weeks, or I'm going to be able to schedule all this stuff and make it all work. And instead of just saying, well, I'm going to do what I got to do today,
Yeah.
and when we get tomorrow, we'll get there, and so on.
And you
so
may have
forth.
to look out to schedule some of
Yeah,
that stuff.
you do.
But then, you know, you do that for a period, and then you get back to what do I have to do today?
Yeah.
You know, and then do today,
Yeah.
then the next day.
Well, and one thing too is like back to my estimating thing. Like I've got all my estimates caught up now, I think. So like now I can kind of take a step back and breathe and Like, okay, now I just need those to say, yep, we'll take it and do it. Most of them do, but you know,
And it
once
could
again,
always be worse. At least you got work.
thank God. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I started out with, I'm not complaining in any way,
Yeah.
but it is a reality. And even working in a job, like I chose to be self-employed. I don't do good working for people. I do good for working for customers one-on-one, but I don't do good working for a boss. So I took that burden on myself and that stress, and I realized that. But for me, even though I know that's what I chose, it still comes with its stresses, and I still allow those to get the best of me, though I chose that life. And for me, I think being self-employed is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
I've considered going to work for somebody, or up here you get factories everywhere. So I thought about going to work at a factory, and it's like I don't do good under somebody's thumb. Like I just don't. So I'm okay with a customer because my job is to make that customer happy. They're paying me. I set my prices. They either accept it or they don't. But when I go work for somebody in a factory, now I have to deal with possibly hundreds of other people choosing to do their job or not do their job. And that could or could not fall on me. And at least if I'm self-employed doing my thing, if I mess up, it's my fault.
Right.
Clear. And then I can own it and deal with it. But, something that my dad always tells me when we get to a job that's really tough or we're having a struggle or whatever, he always tells me the Philippians 4:13 verse, which is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He goes, you can always do more than you think you can. You can always handle more than you think you can. But with that, you have to lean on God. Mm-hmm. Definitely have to lean on him for that. And so I don't know. I just thought this was something, almost a little bit of a vent for me, but also something that I'm sure if you're a man and you're working and you have to provide for your family, you're dealing with this. Oh,
Yeah.
Didn't mean to touch your knee there, Chris, but hey,
Let me
it's awfully
scoot it over.
soft. But I don't know. Maybe people listening are like, this is stupid, but I don't know. For me, I understand how we have to lean on God. I know these things, but I choose not to. And I don't know why. It's so stupid that I choose to just deal with things on my own and not put God first in it. And I know I need to. And
Well, we've talked about that before. We got a big problem in front of us, whatever it may be. I don't know why, but why is our first instinct not to pray about it? First thing I don't know about y'all, but first thing I do is I try to fix it myself.
yeah.
And I've got a little bit better to where I'll pray about it before I get to the point I realize that I can't do this myself. But still, my gut reaction is to go fix it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I catch myself talking to the Lord while I'm fixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be like, all right, Lord, where do I go from here? What am I supposed to do? I know if I'm fixing to mess this up.
Yeah.
So give me some direction.
Yeah. I know I've gotten into jobs where I've never done this type of work before, but the customers trusted me to handle it. And it always works out, but I do find myself in the midst of some of these things saying, all right, I've tried to fix it on my own. I've tried to figure it out. I've been stressing about it. And finally I'm like, all right, Lord, I don't know what the crap I'm doing. Please, can you help me? And one thing my dad said too is to just do something. Just start working at something.
Yeah.
And God will help you the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just, hey, God, I need help. And then you just sit there
Yeah.
and you're waiting for him to do it for you, it's not going to get done. I mean,
Yeah.
you do have to do something yourself. So I know when I've been in situations, I'm like, okay, Lord, I absolutely cannot figure this out, but I'll just fiddle with it and I'll just do something. And before you know it, you're done and you're like, I got it.
Yeah.
And that's only because the Lord's giving you that wisdom and help to get it done. But I don't always, I want to get to a point where my first go-to is God, not myself. Mm-hmm. And that's so stupidly hard.
It's tough.
For me, at least. And I know I pray through things. And really, when I realized, like that the stress was getting the better of me. And because when I'm in it, sometimes I don't realize that it's actually getting the best of me. I'm just like doing my thing and trudging through it. But when the wife starts pointing it out and whatever, it's like, okay. And that's when finally I'm like, you know what, Lord, here I am.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm screwing up again. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Like, I want to get to that place where I don't have to get there. And I don't think that there'll ever be a time when we don't get stressed out about something. But I want to get to a place where my first option is God. And then we'll go from there. And, you know, some of these verses, I wrote down several verses because I always just write down a bunch and I choose the ones that I think are really the most impactful. But staying in the Word too, really, is important. Once I said before, I need accountability on staying in the Word, and sometimes I get so busy that I don't. And I pray often, but it's not always like, I don't know, it's not always like sincere, I guess, maybe. It's just kind of, I'm just talking to him and whatever. But
That's sincere.
when I'm
A
well,
conversation.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
I
I'm
don't-
trying to think of an example.
So,
honestly, because when
we're-
I realized that, I'm like, God, like I'm obviously letting this get the best of me. Like please help me, do what I need to do. Give me the wisdom that I need, the patience, get through this, whatever. Like I get like for real,
Yeah.
where talking to him at any time is not wrong, but sometimes it's just be like a passing conversation.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like
that make sense?
in the mornings, I'll try to have this dedicated and deep prayer time
Right.
with just me and the Lord, and then sometimes on my front porch. And then throughout the day, as I have different things come on my mind, I'll just say a quick prayer here or there, and that'll happen all day long with this or that. But I think that's what you're talking. You do the prayers through the day, just this or that, the conversation type
Yeah.
prayers, and then you feel like you're missing out on the quiet, set aside time to pray.
I guess it would be in comparison to like me seeing one of you guys in public and we're passing by each other at the store.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, how you doing? We talk for a minute, and it's sincere and we care. It's meaningful, but like it's different than, for instance, sitting here doing a podcast and we're having a legit
Yeah.
conversation, that more intimate conversation. I guess maybe is kind of what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of, hey God, I need help here, I need help
Yeah.
there, and I also do a lot of thank you for this, thank you
yeah.
for that. But there's times when I get in my prayer and it's like, man, like I thank you, like it's just more sincere. It's like it's just like deep within, like information. I don't know,
Yeah.
but when I realized that I was letting this stuff get the best of me, I just had to take time and get in the Word and study on it. And I also go on different websites, like depending on the subject we're going to talk about or whatever. I go on websites that kind of discuss different things about it, and some of them are very worldly, and you're just like take it with a grain of salt. And some are actually biblically based and actually matter. And I just kind of read the sides and just work through it, and I just talk to God about it. And like now I don't have that pressure, but it's just because I finally decided to do what I knew I needed to do. And once again, I want to get to a point where I don't have to always learn the hard way. I can work through the things quicker by just doing what I'm supposed to be doing and being obedient to Him and praying and seeking His guidance, because He'll give it to you. If you just ask and you shall receive. I mean, He didn't put that in the Bible for no reason.
Yeah.
And
The big thing though that you need to pat on the back for, you came back around to it.
I did.
You came back around where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
instead of continuing the path of staying stressed and angry and whatever else was going
Yeah.
on.
Well, and that's the thing is
You
when
come back.
when I get stressed, I have a temper, and it's not that I take it out on everybody, but I'm not the nicest guy all the time. And so I guess too for this, I'm sure that at least one of the 5 people listening to our podcast are stressed out about something. And I'm hoping that maybe this was an opportunity for them to hear it and be like, he's right. They're right. Like, I need to stop leaning on myself and just seek God. And I think one that starts with understanding what you're dealing with, like understanding that you are stressed out and it's beginning to affect other people, and repenting. I'm sorry, and I had to apologize to my wife, and I apologized to one of my kids because I was just being rude, and I didn't necessarily realize that I was coming off that way, which I guess I should have. Maybe you get so overwhelmed that you just don't care. Maybe.
Well, what I was going to say, that can sneak up on you, and you
Yeah.
don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And that's where Courtney called me the other day, like I was telling you, and she can see it before I'm even really
Yeah.
aware of it, And the talking about stressors and stuff. I don't know if I've said this before on here, but since I've got more involved with the church and stuff and ministering to other people, I used to think that pastors had a pretty good little deal.
Pretty good little gig.
Yeah, pretty good little deal. And I've got a close friend now who is our associate pastor, and I've kind of realized that is a heavy job, and it will zap you, and that's kind of some of the stuff that I have dealt with is just kind of ministering to other people and counseling, and it just drains you so bad. So I just wanted to give a little tip of the hat to our pastors, because that is a very stressful job.
Yeah.
And stress is stress.
Right.
Whether it's paying the bills or whether it's dealing with the weight of a congregation. And I think we all deal with it. You're not alone. I'm not typically a very stressful person, but I'm not immune to it, and it can get to me. And it's got to me here recently. Caught it kind of early before I start, tearing the house apart or anything like that. But you was talking about the people listening. I think it's common to everybody. I think if you are say that you don't have any stress,
You're not living.
Yeah, good for you, but
Yeah,
but
that's unrealistic.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this is just kind of like a refresher. Like, hey, we're all in it, and God is the source of the cure, the fix. Mm-hmm. Seeking Him first is going to help you get through there, and we have to recognize where we're at with it.
Y'all ever think, like back in the day before Jesus, or looking at other people, how in the world do they get through their life?
But I don't know.
I don't either. And I used to be there, I guess, but it's just so much better
Yes.
when you're just walking with Jesus through all this stuff.
Drink a lot of your life away. I mean, I was raised in church, but I had my times when I was not walking with God, and I drank a lot of my stresses away. I thought, you think
It's
you're
just
drinking
temporary,
them away.
though.
It is temporary.
What does it last?
As you wake up the next morning and now you feel like crap,
Yep.
and the same issue is still
you
there.
still got the same stuff. Yeah.
Wake up with more problems than you had.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Depending on what you did that night.
And with your relationship with Jesus, it's all about surrender. You give Him everything. My life is yours now. I'm giving my life to you. And with that comes a lot of freedom. We still have to deal with stress. I'm not, not saying we don't, but it's just so much. It's just so much easier. And it's so much lighter and freer if you can just give it all to Him. And I don't know why that's so hard for us a lot of times. Like I told you the story with the boys. I'm still holding on through a lot of that, and then I have to get to the point to where it just breaks me down before I just say, "Hey, take it. I can't do it."
Yeah.
You know.
It's like you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And you can't.
I don't know why men tend to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. You got a clue,
'Cause
Chris?
we're not perfect. There was only one.
Ain't
Yeah.
that the truth?
There was only one perfect, and we're gonna struggle at times.
Yeah.
But if we struggle with the one who's perfect, things get better. That fly's bothering me.
Oh, it's driving me crazy.
It's not driving me crazy until it lands on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moral of the story is when you are starting to get into a hard place, when it's right at the get-go, when I was getting these estimates, for instance, and realizing, man, this is going to be a pain in the butt, I should have immediately just said, Lord, this is where I need you to help me.
Yeah.
I'm going to need your help. So when we're getting into a hard time, when we're dealing with a unruly workplace situation or whatever it may be, or just problems at home, maybe your work's not stressing you out, maybe things at home are. Either way, when you start noticing that resistance, I guess you would say, you've got to get in the Word. Philippians 4:6-7 is such a good verse. But pray and ask God for help and for wisdom to get through this and whatever it's going to take to make it happen, and just pray and ask Him for that help through the whole process. Because if you just ask one time, and it may just go smooth, but sometimes I'm like, all right, Lord, help me. And maybe I'm not as sincere about it. But then I
Or
get
you got
into
some
it,
doubt.
Or I got some doubt.
So that's where I was headed next. Is I think a lot of times we view prayer as wishful thinking, But I'm telling you, man, prayer is powerful. I've seen it do. I've had prayers answered that you would have never thought.
Yes, sir.
And there is no, and a lot of times I'll have these small prayers that are answered, and it just kind of works its way out, or works its way together, or whatever, and prayer is very powerful,
yeah.
and we shouldn't underestimate it the way we do a lot of times.
Yeah.
Amen. Absolutely.
We say our prayers and we're really thinking, this probably ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Absolutely. You have that.
Y'all
Thomas.
had that experience. I've
Thomas.
had that experience.
Doubting Thomas.
Doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
But,
I catch myself doing that too.
Yeah.
the more you see your prayers answered, the more God works in your life. You can kind of pray that prayer with confidence, And I've been there a few times. I'm not saying I'm always there. But I have had things that I'll pray about, and I'll say, you got it. I know you got it. This is what I'm praying for, and I know that it's going to be handled. It's going to be took care of.
Yeah.
And if we can have that, I think there's even more power in that type of prayer. When you know you got full confidence that your prayer's going to be answered.
Right.
And it may not be yes, but you know that that the Lord's will is going to be done.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
I've had plenty of no's.
Yeah.
And then
And thank God we got some of them no's.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Just because your answer's a no, just catch your breath and wait and see why it was a no.
Just know God is
Yes.
working one way or another.
Yes.
That kind of brings me to Romans 8:28, where it says, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are are the called according to his purpose.
That's one of my favorites.
That's my
Yep.
go-to, man.
Yep.
I love that scripture.
Yeah. So I think we covered this pretty good. And I guess just the word of encouragement would be, when you realize, or when you first start seeing that yourself's getting into these situations, just go to God right away. Don't try to fix it on your own. Just say, God, I need help through this. And seek him and be obedient to him and what he's telling you. And you're going to be able to work through these things a lot better than I'm going to do it on my own, and I might snap at some people and have a rough time for a while, but eventually we'll get through it, because it doesn't usually end well. And I hate having to apologize for being stupid. I hate having to do it, but I do it. I mean, I have to do it. And if you can just avoid that,
Let's take a quick start. Is apologizing hard for you, Chris?
No.
It's not me either. And some people it's really hard for.
Yeah. When I'm wrong.
depending on yeah,
When you're wrong.
depending on the
Which is
situation.
rare.
Which is rare.
Chris, I can't see you ever being wrong, Chris.
Oh, come on now. I've been wrong, and when I'm wrong, I'll admit it.
Yeah, usually it's the hardest for me is when I have to apologize to my wife or
Really?
kids. Yeah, I mean, I can apologize if like hurt you, whatever. I mean, there's times when me and Blake are working together and I'll whack him with something. I'm like, oh, sorry, man, you okay? But like, when it comes to admitting that I was a jerk or whatever to my wife, or spoke rudely to my daughter, or whatever it may be, that's hard for me. It's like, because I guess I feel like I failed them,
Yeah.
and I
And you
have this in my
apologizing
mind.
admits it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
admitting to it.
And I have this in my mind that they look at me like I'm the dad and I'm great, but I just screwed I'm the dad and I'm great up by saying or whatever I did. And now it's like, now I'm owning up to it, and
That makes
it's
you
like,
greater.
daggone, man.
Right.
But at the same time,
That's
then it's
what
like,
that's modeling.
Yeah.
That,
Yes.
if you can have the humility to
Yes.
say, I was wrong.
And
I'm
it's hard.
sorry.
Yeah.
They need to see that too.
Yeah.
They need to see that probably more than they need to see if you were always right, because they're gonna make mistakes. They gotta learn to apologize and, have that humility to know that I'm not always going to get it right.
But you're bold enough to admit it.
yeah.
Yep.
It would be stupid for me not to admit that I screw up. Because, I mean, if you know me, you know me. I think I'll just leave. We feel like we covered this pretty good.
I think so.
I think I'm going to leave it with this verse. And it's 1 Peter 5:7. It says, give all your worries and cares to God,
That's what
for he cares about you.
Yeah. That's one I'm
We've been tracking
came
pretty
to
good
mind.
today.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
But that's good. Like, seriously, give all your worries and cares to God. He cares about you.
Yeah.
He loves you so much that he gave his only son, that if you just believe in him, and for somebody to care about us that much, and for us not to do something as simple as say, hey, God, like he cares. We know he cares about us that much, and yet we still try to do it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me for my kids. I'll do whatever I can to help them, and there's times when they have to learn the hard way, and I choose to learn the hard way myself with God. Like,
Yeah.
he's there for me, but I choose to do things on my own and learn the hard way and suffer those consequences. Then I have to go back to apologizing, seeking him again, et cetera, et cetera. And if I just trust him from the get-go, cast my cares and my worries and my problems on him, he'll be there to help me.
Amen.
So I hope we did this justice.
I hope.
And
I don't
We're-
ever
we're-
know. I don't ever know if they're good or not. I can't
if
tell.
we're doing it, it's good. One thing about it is these podcasts I pray about, and typically we pray beforehand. We didn't today. We kind of got off the beaten path. But
We were in deep.
we were in deep before we even started recording. But also, we're playing with a camera, and I hope that is turning out good. Blake, have you checked on that to see if we're even being a recorded studio here. Okay, so we're testing the waters. We're gonna, if it turns out good, we're gonna put it out on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, the Forging Podcast YouTube channel. We'll put it out on there. All of our audio is out on there too. And I'm thankful that Chris was able to take the time to come out and share his wisdom. Always grateful for Brett and Blake. And I think this was maybe more of a session for me this time. really it was.
That's me too.
A lot of times my topics that I want to talk about are based on things that I'm dealing with. And so I guess if I have to be the grunt to get the information and have to suffer through some things so we have something to talk about that's going to help somebody, I guess that's what I'll be. But yeah, so we thank you guys for listening. And I hope that this was helpful. And if you guys got any comments or anything, you can leave them on our social media or email us. And if we get this out, I'd like you guys to subscribe and follow. And I don't know that we'll have every single one yet out on video, because this time we set up at our church, but we don't always have that option. But we're going to start working hopefully soon on a studio and get a place set up to where we can maybe record every time on video. But we're doing a test run, see how it turns out. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate you guys. We love you. We out.
Bye, yo.
Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram and follow us so you can stay up to date with latest podcast drops and content. Also, feel free to leave us a review on whatever streaming platform you're listening from. We'll catch you next week.